Welcome. I'm Marla Stegman with Plexus. I'm an Emerald Ambassador, and I'm just so excited that you guys are hopping on tonight to hear from my friend Ruth Ahnen. And Kim Steffen also knows Ruth. We met her, I believe, 4 years ago at convention in the hallway in our motel. And we just really kind of connected and have stayed connected since then. Ruth has quite the accolades. I'm going to let her explain all of her experience and then what brought her to Plexus and tell her story and then kind of why she supports these products. And then we'll have some question and answer. I think right now our country is really, we're all focused on health, right? And preventive health is best and our products rock. So Ruth, I'm going to let you take it away, okay?
All right. Thanks, Marla. I'm so excited to get to talk to you guys. I just got off a Zoom call with 18 of my swimmers. They're about 8 to 12 years old. So if I talk kind of like I'm talking to a bunch of 12-year-olds, please forgive me. I'm a swim coach. I've been a swim coach for a very long time. I've coached anywhere from learn to swim all the way up to Olympic trial qualifiers and beyond. So that's a bit of my background, but about 5 years ago, I also love to do adventures. So I've been to Africa and climbed Kilimanjaro. I've been to Mount Everest. I do 50-mile runs, all after the age of 50. So I'm a pretty athletic, in shape person, but I was starting not to feel so good. And I got back from Africa after doing Kili and menopause and just feeling crazy. I wanted long naps every afternoon, and I was not pooping right. Something was off, and I attributed it to being a little bit older. But what was really bothering me was when I was on the coaching deck, when I was coaching the kids, and I couldn't remember things. Like I've coached these kids for a year, and I couldn't remember their names. Like weird, brain foggy, I don't know, I was a little bit off in my joints. I had a little discomfort in my joints. And I thought, I have so many things I want to do. I want to do an Ironman. I want to run a 100-mile race. I want to do all these things. And I was like, I can't do them. I'm just getting old. This pretty much is terrible. So I prayed and I said, you know what, God, just help me. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I need some help. So I get a phone call, and in the swimming world, I know Olympic gold medalists, I know Olympic champions, I know a lot of people. And one of the people I've gotten to be very good friends with is Josh Davis. And Josh is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time silver medalist. And his wonderful mother-in-law ran his swim clinics. So he went all over the US and did swim clinics, and Darlene and I really hit it off. Now, Darlene is she's a Sapphire ambassador with Plexus. We call her the Plexi Mama. She's in her 70s. And she called me out of the blue. And she goes, Ruth Ann, how are you? And I go, I'm great. But I'm feeling a little off. She goes, I have just the thing for you. And she launched into her Plexus spiel. And I'm like, I've been with network marketing for it'll be over 20 years now, very successful with another company that does this lipstick that doesn't come off. I love it. So I'm like, no, I'm not trying something or whatever. And she goes, you know what? I want to bless you with the triplex. And I'm like, okay. So I tried the triplex. I started drinking the pink drink, taking the probiotics, and I knew the benefit of probiotics. I had taken them while I was in Africa, doing the probiotic, taking a multivitamin, but feeling no difference. And the BioCleanse. So after about 3 weeks, I woke up and I'm like, I don't know. It's like coming out of a fog. I really can't describe it. I just felt so much better. I'm like, my joints feel good. I didn't need a nap. I could remember the kids' names. My hot flashes were like disappearing. I was like, what the heck is going on? And I really didn't know why they were working, but I'm like, you know what? There's something to this. And I signed up, and I've been with the company ever since. But I'm a researcher. So it drove me down a road to research. I'm like, why are these products working? Why are they working? And I heard another Plexus ambassador who had gotten her certified natural health practitioner from Trinity School of Natural Health. And I'm like, I really need to know why this stuff works. Wendy's very knowledgeable. I'll start going to school. So I started with Trinity about 4 years ago. And I also started reading and study. And I learned about the gut microbiome and how important a healthy gut microbiome is for everything, for hormonal balance, for immune health, for brain health, for just overall health, how important that was. And then just how unique ProBio 5 was and why it works so well. So then I decided to proceed on with Trinity, and I'm currently finishing up my Doctor of Naturopath. And I absolutely love it, and I love to research, and the more I research and the more I learn, the more I understand why people get really great results with Plexus and why they work so well. So let's fast forward about 2 years, and my daughter has a chronic illness called cystinosis. It's very rare. She had a kidney transplant it's been 12 years now, and she's done pretty good. But she had to move back into the house, and Katie's 29 now, so when she was about 26, 27, she was diagnosed with lymphoma, and it rocked us. She also had seizure to go along with it, so it was very, very difficult. But I truly believe that God led me to Plexus. I truly believe that He led me down the road to Trinity, because when she became ill, I was able to support her through natural health. I was able, when the chemo was destroying the cancer, I was able to support and knew what she needed to support her healthy cells. So she came, the doctors gave her about 45% chance. The lymphoma was covered. If you saw her CT scan, it was all black. It was devastating. But between a good doctor, I would say chemo, support through natural products, through Plexus, through the good Lord Himself. After only 2 treatments, she went for another CAT scan and she was healed the cancer was gone. So she went through 2 more rounds. But during that whole time, the doctors allowed her to do the ProBio 5, BioCleanse. She also took the Mega X. And we stepped back from the vitamin, but we also supported with colloidal silver and frankincense. We did infrared saunas to detox her body. She was walking. We did natural plant, lots of vegetables, fruits. We stayed away from meat products, cut out dairy. We revamped her diet, and she's been doing very well ever since. So it's funny how God prepares you for certain things that are heading in front of you on the road. So the second part of this story, and I'm sure many of you can identify with this, is type 2 diabetes. So my husband, my wonderful husband, Tony, he has had AFib, heart arrhythmia, and it got to the point where he needed a heart ablation, and this was a year ago. So when he went in, they took they tested his A1C, and it was over 8. So that type 2 diabetes. We had no idea at all. So the doctor came in and said, "You are diabetic." And I looked at him, and it's kind of funny because I had just been studying. There's a Dr. Jason Fung, who is a nephrologist who has reversed type 2 diabetes through diet and supplementation without medication. So they brought in that special the special diabetic nurse to instruct you on, you'll be taking this drug, you will always be type 2 diabetic. And, she left the room, and I looked at my husband and I said, "You have an insulin resistance problem, and we can reverse that through diet And also I'm a firm believer in time restrictive eating. I've studied, went into that, and that can reverse a lot of, it can help make you more insulin sensitive. It is just a host of great health benefits. So he started with plant-based. He is on and has been on the ProBio 5, the BioCleanse, the Mega X, Slim. We're firm believers in that block product that Plexus has, block and the balance, are rock star products for type 2 diabetics. You know, he was picking, we were doing blood sugar levels, and, you know, we would have cheat days, and he would take his block or his balance, and that blood sugar would not go up. It wouldn't spike where normally it would. We are absolute huge believers in that. So say no to insulin. 3 months, it takes 3 months for between taking your your A1Cs. He went to get his blood drawn after 3 months. Now in that time, he had dropped about 30 pounds. He cut out carbs. We're doing plant-based, doing our supplements, and doing time-restrictive eating. He would eat lunch at noon. We'd have dinner around 5:36, and nothing in between. So at his follow-up appointment, his A1C was 5.0, and it has pretty much stayed there. So I am a firm believer in having a lot of tools in your toolbox. I've never been one to say Plexus is everything. Plexus is such an important tool in your toolbox. The foundation of health that I've learned is the blood sugar balancing, the gut health, and reducing inflammation in the body, and Plexus helps with that, along with a healthy diet, lowering stress, getting plenty of sleep, eating a plant-based diet, drinking plenty of water. What else? Getting lots of sleep. So now we are at a time such as this with this COVID, right? It's scary. I've done a lot of deep diving into this virus, and you have what the world needs. And the world needs is healthy immune systems. And our bodies are designed. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we are designed to be able to fight off infections, including COVID-19. But our country is sick. We are overweight. Our blood sugars are out of control. We accept obesity as the norm. And gut health is destroyed from all the toxins, from the antibiotics, from all the medications we're on. We are really struggling with immune health. So I know that the ProBio 5 and Vital Biome is incredible for gut microbiome diversity, which is really important. The Slim is important for balancing blood sugar, keeping that low. And then we have, BioCleanse, the Mega X, all good for inflammation. The Ease is great for inflammation. Just really, really great products. So anyways, I threw a lot at you. I'm sure I could go in pretty deep on the good old virus here, but I'll let you guys ask the questions and we can take it from there. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. Your story is just one of just gratefulness, right? That I think of myself with Plexus too, is if I wouldn't have stumbled on Plexus, I would have never been open to hearing about natural health.
Yeah.
I was not raised around it. It was like foreign to me. So it just opened a whole door of learning. And yeah, so you guys.
Hey, can I share one more quick story with you?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So last September, my family has a history of heart disease. My grandfather had his first heart attack at 48, and he died in his early 60s. My father had a quadruple bypass when he was 55, and he was a very healthy guy, never smoked, ran 10Ks, incredibly healthy. So major heart problems on my dad's side of the family. So I gave you my history about how active I am. Well, in September, I was driving to the movies to, my husband was in Canada fishing, and I was just got done with working out, and I had a cup of coffee, and I'm driving to meet my daughter for a movie, and I'm talking to my sister on the phone, and all of a sudden my chest starts to hurt. And I go numb in my arm, and I'm the last person to go to the doctor. I never, ever, I mean, I'm like, if I can avoid the doctor, I will. So I'm scared to death. I'm like, am I having a heart attack? Is this, you know, and then I think just panic. So I drove myself to the ER of our local hospital, and I told my daughter, Katie, I'm in the parking lot. I'll meet you in the ER. So I sat in the waiting room like, oh, do I really need to bother them with this? But it wasn't getting any better. And I was just, you know, kind of panicking. So I went to the ER, and they checked me in, and they said, well, with your history, and we see a little blurb on your EKG. So we're going to keep you overnight and do testing. So I was given a doctor that the doctor, you know, he was on call for the cardiac, and they did a full panel on me, and my enzymes were good, but I still had this tiny little blip on my EKG. He goes, that, we don't know about that. So he's weaving a story of, you know, that's not right. And I said, I've never had any problem. Well, with your history, and, you know, I had a colleague that he was in just as good a shape as you, and he was out running, and he never came back. He had a heart attack and died. So this doctor is trying to scare me because I refused to take all the drugs that he wanted to put me on. My blood pressure was normal. He wanted to put me on a blood pressure medication. My cholesterol was normal. He wanted to put me on a statin. He wanted to put me on blood thinner, an aspirin, and something for acid reflux. He wanted to put me on 5 drugs and give me nitroglycerin. And I said no to all of them. I said, I'm not going down that path. I had studied about statins, and I'm not anti-statins, but I do believe they're very much overprescribed, and people can change their cholesterol levels and things through diet for the most part. So I'm like, you have to give me proof that I do have this heart attack waiting to happen. So they did everything, heart ultrasound. I went on the treadmill and lasted for 18 minutes, you know. So, but that doctor, when we were leaving, he says, well, I want you to take all these drugs, and I want to see you in a week. And I walked out of there, and I looked at my husband. I'm like, I'm not going back to him. He wants to identify me as a cardiac patient. And I don't think that's what my problem is, because I passed everything. So I'm like, my husband has one of the leading cardiologists in Wisconsin that takes care of him. And so I made an appointment with Dr. Kletchka, and I redid my stress test. And I got the call from him, and he said, you're barking up the wrong tree. You basically had the best stress test of any of my patients I've ever had. But had I not been educated, had I not known to ask questions and advocate for me, that doctor, and I would be sitting here today saying, I have heart issues. I probably would have tailored back all my working out and everything for my new normal. But because I believe of getting on the road with Plexus, of educating, of advocating, that I am not that person. It ended up being like an indigestion thing. I had too much caffeine, and I had an anxiety attack, I think is what it was. But there's nothing in me that would indicate I have a major health issues, and I've been fully checked out. But how many other people are out there that just accept what the doctor has to say? There's so many. I mean, there are so many. And how many doctors, instead of saying, he didn't ask me my stress level. I've got a husband with a heart issue. I've got my daughter who had this, and this. Stress is so huge in how it affects our physical health. But they don't ask us about that. And I'm not bashing doctors by any means. They saved my daughter's life. They saved my husband's life. I mean, I'm pro medical community, but I'm also pro health and being an advocate for ourselves. So thank you, Plexus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Trinity School of Natural Health. Thank you, Google. Thank you, all that, because my life would be very different right now. So anyway, so I thought that was a very important piece I need to share with you. I almost forgot about that. So
yes, and to, ask questions and get a second opinion, yeah, that's just.
And some doctors don't like it. I got my medical report and I got to see everything he wrote. And he wrote, patient thinks she's a naturopath, is what he wrote. And I'm like, how condescending and arrogant is that man? Because I questioned him.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't take the drugs he wanted to give to me. So.
And that's, that is what most doctors are trained to do, right? Is recommend a drug. And thank goodness you advocated, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Wow. I think too, with the COVID right now, I don't know, did you see that article in PubMed, Ruth? I'm sure it was floating around that the lactobacillus and the bifidobacterium, it fights the COVID. I didn't research more of that, but did you find that anything else out about that as well?
I haven't looked into that. I've kind of been down the what is it? The hydrochloroquine with the azithromycin and zinc combination, kind of looking at that. But here's something that I have. It was funny, before this whole virus took place, I'm finishing up my thesis on longevity and the effects of nutrition and its timing on longevity. And by longevity, I mean, we're not really supposed to head down that aging pathway. We have the ability to be active into our 90s. We really do, with full mental capacity and physical capacity. So I was deep diving and researching on, what causes aging in us to get old. And our gut microbiome, as we get older, becomes less diverse. And that has a huge effect on immune function. So, my recommendation for my older clients and for my parents, my dad's 84 and my mother's 80, is to take the Vital Biome and the ProBio, because they need that gut bacteria diversity, which as we get older, it gets less and less. So, and as that gets less, our immune function diminishes. So that is really, really important. So I think between the two, and then, good fermented food, keeping sugar consumption down, helps maintain that good microbiome balance, which is really, really important. So, but I'll have to look into that. Now you're sending me down another pathway, Marla.
I can send it to you too.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions for Ruth? You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your thoughts on time restrictive eating.
Sure. There's a couple really incredible researchers and doctors, Dr. Jason, I'll give these names to Marla, Dr. Jason Fung and Dr. Volto Longo. So as I was, as I'm researching about longevity, Dr. Volto Longo, I think that's what his name, yeah, he wrote the longevity diet. But anyways, he's been doing research into fasting and time restricted eating. So it does a couple of things. Number one, it helps with And when I say time restrictive eating, I would say ideally they have found keeping your eating within a 7 to 9 hour window. So let's say you have customers who are, they're overweight. I think a lot of us have people come to us with Plexus because they want to lose weight is the initial thing. I mean, other people have health issues, but losing weight and restricting what you eat is very difficult, and it usually sets you up for failure. But time restrictive eating, a lot of people can put their eating into that 7 to 9 hour window. It's not so hard, and then not eat, the rest of the time. So here's what it's going to do. It's going to increase your insulin sensitivity, which is very important. How does your body uptake energy? If you are insulin resistant, and you can tell that by if you've got belly fat, if you've got belly fat is one of the major indicators of having insulin resistance. Your blood sugar is slightly elevated. If you're in that 5.8 to 6.2 range on your blood sugars, you're type 2. If you're in the upper 5s, I would say you're a bit insulin resistant. So giving yourself some rest, that 12 to 15 hour rest, allows you to become more insulin sensitive. So that's one of the things. The other things that also helps with autophagy, which is when our bodies use energy, it also creates waste. So our body needs to clear that waste.
Right.
Time restricted eating helps with that. It helps remove cellular waste. If we don't move and we can't remove that, it tends to build up and can cause disease and illness. So that's another very important part of time restricted feeding. We also have a circadian rhythm in our body. And it usually begins, our metabolism usually begins when we wake, with our first intake of food. And the longer you can put that off, the better for overall health. So, we've been sold the bill of goods that you got to eat breakfast, most important meal of the day. But remember that it's break the fast, breakfast, break the fast. So I find the easiest way to do time restrictive eating is usually to have my larger meal around 11 to 1-ish, and then eat maybe 5 to 6, and then I'll brush my teeth, floss, do everything after we finish our evening meal. It makes it easier because it just is like, we're done, no snacking in the evening, and then not eat till the next morning. The other thing that it helps with too, we have 2 little hormones called ghrelin and leptin, and they send signals to the brain to tell us whether we're full or whether we're hungry, and it helps with stabilizing those 2 hormones. So a lot of times when we eat bad food, or we don't have, we're insulin resistant, our brain doesn't get the message that we're full. So you don't get that satisfying feeling. So so it also helps with that. So a lot of people will find that, oh my gosh, I can't last 15 hours without eating, I'll be starving. You'll find that it over time, you actually, that hunger thing happens less and less.
Okay. Well, that's a great explanation.
Good.
And I have this, Dr. Fung, this is the summary of the complete guide to fasting, kind of the clip notes. So I haven't read his full book, but I bought this.
He's awesome. I love Dr. Fung. He's really, he's got some great YouTube videos that you basically get the overall in about a half hour. You could just sit and listen to him if you're in the car. Just turn on YouTube, look him up. He's doing just amazing things. He's been able to get to reverse, and just to put it out there, we're not here to diagnose, cure, or we're not medical doctors by any means, but from his experience, he has actually been able to reverse type 1 diabetes in people, in individuals. So he was getting end stage, because usually diabetics, their kidneys are involved. So he's a nephrologist, so he would get diabetics in the end stage, and he's been able to reverse their diabetes and think through diet
That's
and
amazing.
the timing of that diet. Yeah. You know, insulin is just, you know, insulin is not a cure. Insulin is just shoving more sugar into your cells. You know, you're not curing it, you're managing it. And a lot of times you just keep adding more insulin, and doctors think that's a success. We have the blood sugar under control, but their insulin amount that they're being given keeps having to increase, and that's not success. You know, you're just shoving, I keep thinking of that elevator where you're just shoving more people in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We have a lot in common. I'd say we're about the same age. I went into menopause just a few years ago, and my life has been very different. I've been extremely conscious of what goes through my body and my exercise and everything all these years. But since menopause, I just feel like I do have some joint pain, and I'm tending to gain weight for the first time in my life, you know, some stomach weight, and I just feel like I have a whole new everything. And so I really avoid doctors too. I'm not on any prescriptions at all, and have known health all my life. So we have a lot in common.
yeah. Well, you know what? Getting older and an older woman does not have to mean being crazy, hair loss, hot flashes, mood changes. It takes work. It takes work, but you know, having that little belly, you don't have to have you don't have to have it. You don't. But a lot of women don't know what to do, and hormones play a big role in that.
They really
Hormones
do.
are huge.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's okay to throw up the flag and say, hey, I need some hormones, or I need some bioidentical. If that's what you need, quality of life is huge. I found that the X Factor Plus has been, you know, really helpful with different things, and I think I'm going to the tail end, because I'm turning 58 next Sunday. So I'm hopefully coming out the other side, but the time restrictive eating has been quite helpful. You know, sugar, changing the diet and things like that has been really important.
Yeah, this is really the first time that I've craved sugar in all these years, and it's kind of snowballs, you know.
Yeah. Are you on ProBio 5?
I am not on any Plexus. This
Okay.
is my first exposure to this. I have seen a naturopath doctor for most of 10 years, and he has prescribed flora, you know, good gut, and did cleanses, and it's been a good thing. It's been a really good thing.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I really like about ProBio 5. But it also has the enzymes. And as we get older, our enzyme levels decrease, and it's really important, because enzymes are the energy. They're what convert one thing to another. They're very important in digestion, in the gut, and I love the fact that this probiotic has those enzymes, especially as we get older. It also has that grapeseed extract. It has the prebiotic. It's got like 5 little products in one. And Diane, can I tell you, I took the refrigerated probiotics because they said they're the best. I bought the most expensive probiotic on the shelf. I have tried everything. I mean, I've tried at least 8 different probiotics, and I don't know what it was, but ProBio 5 just was different. I mean, I did not have a solid poop for a year and a half after coming back from Africa. Never, I didn't. And I'm like, after about a week, I told my husband, I go, honey, I had a regular poop. He goes, good for you, sweetheart. And I'm like, you don't understand. It wasn't bad. It was just like not normal. And now I'm like, we talk poop a lot, but yeah.
It's part of health.
It is. It's a super important. All of you ladies out there that I'm seeing your awesome kind of faces, how many constipated individuals have you run into? You know what? The United States, oh, well, okay, you guys want to hear an awesome story? Okay, so when I first started Plexus, I was like whoa, I got to throw up on everybody and tell everybody about this because I feel so great. What I did was I took 5 close friends. One was my sister and 4 were my Bible study ladies. And I said, you guys, if I gave you a week's worth of this stuff, would you just try it and tell me if it works, right? So I had my little baggie. I put a little probiotic. Now, I'm not recommending you do this. I think it's illegal, so you didn't hear it from me. And they were good friends. They were like sisters, when you pray together, you're like sisters. So I had a little bag of BioCleanse, a little bag of Probio 5, and I gave them some sticks of Slim. My sister-in-law sent it back to me and said, I'm not trying that stuff. But everybody tried it, and all of them are still ambassadors to this day. But I get a call from my sister. And my sister's she was a Navy or a Air Force colonel, intel officer. She was an intel officer for General Schwarzkopf in Desert Storm. She is one tough cookie, really tough. Never got married, got these 2 beautiful daughters she adopted from overseas. She's just awesome, but she's a bit overweight and we don't talk health. She called me up and she said, what did you just give me? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I pooped. And I'm like, good for you. She pooped once a week. She lost 17 pounds in the first 2 weeks. She could not poop. She pooped once a week.
Wow.
I've been her sister for 56 years. And I didn't know she only pooped once a week. I'm like, no wonder you are a toxic, sludgy mess. You're just, could you imagine? So, and the other 4 gals all, go ahead. But all the other 4 women all joined Plexus and had great results with the product. So, yeah.
I have a story similar. We were at a sip and share, and this gal that was there in the audience had been doctoring multiple times about her irregularity, and it had been 2 weeks since she had gone bathroom. And so I looked at the hostess and I said, can we send her with some, I didn't have any BioCleanse on me. And so we sent her with a little baggie of BioCleanse, and 2 days later, I get a text. I'm shopping in the store here in Cavalier, and they're like, it worked, she went. Anyway, she was so happy. She had been doctoring. So yeah, BioCleanses and Probio 5 together are just magical in the Slim.
Well, and I'm a swimming coach. I coach, during the season, 8 to 12-year-olds. And, my parents know where I'm in, what I do. And I had 3 of my parents come to me and say, my kids don't poop. They don't go to the bathroom. And they've all gotten relief with the Probio 5 and the BioCleanse. So they've done very well. And, I was leading a Bible study, and you want to talk about something strange at the end of the very first. So this is a new season with Bible study, and we have prayers. So what can we pray for? And 2 of the women out of the 8 were praying that their kids weren't constipated anymore. They were going to a constipation clinic. I'm like, they have such a thing. They have a clinic for kids that can't poop. Who'd have got, And I'm like, I think God might have answered your prayer. We need to talk.
Yeah. So explain, what's your thoughts? Just so you guys know, Ruth and I did no prep for this. So we're just doing this on the cuff, totally. But like Miralax is so common that they put kids on that. Explain your thoughts on that.
No, it's poison. Nobody should be on Miralax, but doctors recommend it all the time. Here's my thing. You've got a child in your office who's presenting with constipation. I would look at and say, what is your lifestyle, little person? I don't want to give them a derivative of antifreeze or whatever they put in Miralax. I don't want a child to be dependent on a medication. I want to say, how much water do you drink every day? How much activity do you have? Would you please share with me what you are eating? I mean, if that kid is eating, a steady diet of processed food, meats, and does he have any allergies? What's his stress level? Can I tell you what? Kids today are under a tremendous lot of stress. What does stress do? And you're not drinking water, you've got to find out why that child is not going to the bathroom. You're not going to throw them a little drink of Miralax. Now, if a child has an occasional bout, I mean, all of us get stopped up every once in a while, and I'm sure a lot of us who are on Plexus are pretty attuned to our bodies or are getting attuned. So we know if we eat certain foods, things are not going to come out as easily the next day. You're not eating a lot of fiber. Maybe you didn't drink enough water or whatever. There's a reason behind it. But dear Lord, if a child has constipation like that, I would be looking at lifestyle and things like that. So not a Metamucil person at all. There's not a whole lot over the counter for kids, and here's one thing that I do recommend, vitamin C. Vitamin C is a natural laxative. If, right now, during this season where we need to be boosting our immune system, I have everybody I know, including myself and my family, we take vitamin C with every meal. If we start to get the sniffles or not feeling good, we bump up to 1,000 milligrams every hour. Ascorbic acid, you need it. You need it stored in the body. You need it all over. Take it to bowel tolerance. Your body will tell you when you've had too much. It's not toxic. It's water soluble. You'll just whoosh it right out. If you get canker sores or if you get loose stools, then kind of cut back on it, but highly recommend. And I always recommend taking those kind of vitamins with a meal because you can cofactors and it's better absorbed that way. So.
And our BioCleanse has vitamin C in it too, just
Yep.
so you know that. So, yep.
Yeah.
How about detox? Explain, I don't know, typical detox?
Well, when your gut is balancing, and it's getting rid of, when Candida breaks down, it doesn't want to go out without a fight. Not at all. So you may feel, a little achy, like flu-y, but that's a normal response, because Plexus does have a mild detox. You can. Now, for a lot of people, if they start experiencing it, I said maybe tailor back a little bit on your ProBio 5, maybe add a vitamin C. Vitamin C does help with, or add an extra BioCleanse does help with detox symptoms. Make sure to drink lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of water to help with that. So, yeah, and also slim. When fat is a toxin storage unit. When you go and you see all those little storage units, imagine those are fat cells, and inside each is toxins. Your body, that's how it stores it so it doesn't affect you, right? So a lot of times your body doesn't want to release fat and other things because they know it's being released. I mean, you're releasing toxins into your system. So Slim also works on that, difficult to lose fat around the middle. So I think, I mean, I really believe that you can have detox symptoms from that too. So again, water, a little extra vitamin C, your X factor helps with that. The Omega X helps. So, and you know, if you get overwhelmed with those symptoms, just take it slow. You don't have to do fast, you know, just kind of slow down on the process. It's kind of, it took me probably, I don't know, Marla, it take you a couple weeks to land on the perfect dose of everything. And it's not one size fits all. I mean, I know some people who are on my sister takes probably 10 BioCleanse every day, you know, because that's just how many she needs. Me, I take 2. I'm 2. You know, I landed on the probiotic. I detox, kind of went up and then down, and 2 is a perfect number for me. So, but everybody is different.
Everyone's different. Yeah. We have a chart that is in one of our units that has stages, and the stages, like the BioCleanse has an asterisk next to it, because that means the asterisk means it could be different for everybody. You know, read this area, and they don't progress to the next stage of the ProBio 5 until they're symptom free, they feel great, sugar cravings gone. So I really like our chart. When I started I've always had trouble with regularity. It took me 6 to 8 BioCleanse a day. Now finally I can go some days, all I need is 2. It's like my digestive system, it's taken 5 years for that to happen. But I do notice when I don't exercise, I have to take more.
Yeah. Well, and that happens a lot for people on travel too. You ever notice when you're in the car for a long time or you're on travel, how you get kind of enter BioCleanse. I'll tell you, when I take trips with friends, they're all asking for it.
Yeah.
3 days, I'm like, normal for me? How do you do it? My friend right here.
Yes. And does anyone else have any questions? You guys feel free to unmute yourself. And
can I ask you, so I'm also doing the intermittent fasting. I just started Plexus 3 weeks ago. So I'm wondering when to take my MetaBurn. So now I'm taking it in the morning. So because I don't think that affects my fast, but I want to just make sure I'm taking it, because I'm not eating in the morning. I'm taking it still at the right time.
You know, a lot of people find the MetaBurn, if they take it later in the day, might keep them up a little bit. So I would say right now, as long as you're doing fine on it, that MetaBurn in the morning should be fine. I don't think.
I take mine before I work out in the mornings.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Very helpful.
Anyone else?
Can you speak about Plexus and relating to like chronic migraines? I don't have them, but I've had a few people ask me about them. And so I'm just trying to find more information.
I actually have one of my my dear friends. She started Plexus, and I had no idea about this, but where she would get them at least once or twice a week, and they were the kind that the vomiting kind. I believe Kristen's is tied into her PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and blood sugar fluctuations. So when she started Plexus, and you know, gut health does have something to do. Good gut health does contribute to good hormone function and blood sugar balancing and all that. And that with the Slim, balancing that blood sugar, she was able to eliminate her migraines. I think she's been with Plexus for 4 years, and she gets them maybe once a year, twice a year. But it could be blood sugar, it could be PCOS. But a lot of times with women, how old is she?
Only like 20, 27.
Would be hormonal PCOS. I might check down that path. But in that regard, Plexus can be very helpful because it is a good blood sugar balancer, and that helps with hormone and then gut health. I would recommend the triplex for somebody with those issues.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Kathy Hawley has a great migraine story too, Leah, if you need to use her at all for validation.
Okay.
You know, with Plexus, we're not going to find anything that says migraines or headaches in Plexus Virtual Office because of compliance and all of that. So it's best to find a real person with a real story, which I think is more believable, but
Brain discomfort, right? I have brain.
yeah, can you say that? Brain discomfort? Pounding on my head, in my head. We can say that, yes.
People will get the idea, yeah.
Yep.
So.
Anyone else have any questions?
I just have a, have you found any type of articles or anything on, I'm thinking of a couple of my students. I have only 9 girls in my class this year, but 2 of them started their periods really early. Like they already started as a 4th grader. And I noticed their diet because they have snack in class every day and it's never good. So I think that could be part of it. But if there's any type of, I don't know, I just feel like there needs to be awareness made of, I don't think 9 and 10-year-olds should be getting their period yet. Like, and is that because of what they've eaten? Is it,
You know what, Gina, I've noticed that with my swimmers, you know, because I'm in that 8 to 12 and I've had an 8-year-old get their period. Some is genetic, but I think a lot of the meat that we eat are pumped full of hormones, and our dairy has a high amount of hormones and antibiotics. So you've got their little digestive tracts getting messed up with the antibiotics. So even if kids aren't taking antibiotics, you're still ingesting them. If mom and dad just buy that meat off the shelf at their Kroger or their Piggly Wiggly, you know, and the biggest industry for antibiotics is the cattle industry. The animal industry consumes the most antibiotics. So your pigs, your I don't want to say pigs, but cattle is notorious for that. And then with antibiotics, and then pumping full of hormones for milk production and other things. So these kids, whatever the cow, whatever the cattle eat, they're taking that in. They're eating that. And then you add to it highly processed food, GMOs. And, you know, the food industry tricks us all the time. They say these are all natural, these are organic, these are this, that, when they really aren't so much. So you have to be very careful. And I think parents were very busy. You have 2, you know, both parents are working.
yeah.
It's hard to fix. It takes a bit of planning to eat healthy like that. But it's kind of funny because I have a couple families that are very into the organic, and they buy the grass-fed beef. They'll like buy the cow with another family, and their kids have never been on antibiotics, and their children look like teenagers. I have a lot of girls, and I see them all in swimming suits, a lot of overweight, the boobs when they're very young, and I think it's a lot of what we eat.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there are some family genetics where that plays a part, but that's a rarity. That was a rarity when we were growing up, wasn't it? I mean, shoot, I was pretending to wear a bra when I was 14. I had nothing. I was like flat. Rosalie DeStout was the only girl with boobies when I was like 11 or 12. I still remember her name, Rosalie DeStout.
It's just something that I've noticed as I've taught, because I've taught for 25 years, and the longer I'm teaching, I feel like I'm noticing it happening more with girls at a younger age, like more girls more often as it keeps going.
Yeah.
So that's just an observation I've made with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if other teachers can compare, but the age I'm in, it's happening more, I feel like. So anyway, thank you.
Yes.
So for kids, would you give, so for like a 14 and a 16-year-old, would you give them the X Factor Plus, or would you still give them the kids one?
It depends on their size. I mean, for me, my personal thing would be, the nice thing with the children's is you get probiotic with it.
Okay.
But the 14, like 16, if they're adult size, if they're, you know, and they can swallow pills. Usually when they're teenagers and in high school, I recommend the X Factor Plus. I don't know what you recommend, Marla.
I usually ask what weight they are and kind
Yeah.
of go from there.
Yeah, like both of them is 110 and 120.
That would be one X Factor, I would think. One X Factor, then I would recommend taking it with a meal.
Okay. And then would you add a probiotic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you can speak on eczema in children.
Eczema is an indicator, your skin is an indicator of your gut health. So if your gut is dysbiotic, if I have had good results by addressing gut health. So ProBio 5 and the BioCleanse, I have seen incredible turnarounds in skin conditions. But also addressing, are you drinking enough water? What does your diet look like? And that, but generally you straighten the gut up, your skin conditions improve. Have you seen that too, Marla?
Oh yeah. Yep. Molluscum. Yep.
Do you say like anything about hives? Kind of the same thing? Because like there's randomly where I'll get hives randomly and I have no idea what it's from. Would you say that's like the same as like eczema and all of that too?
Hives are the body's reaction to something going on in the body. Generally, it's the gut. It can help regulate that.
Okay.
I haven't really dove down that path too far as hives, because some people have reactions to different food products. I mean, have you noticed that it happens at certain times? Like
No.
it might.
I'm not really sure. I mean, it started when I started the collagen last year in November. And then just today I had hives again on my stomach. So I just didn't know there was something maybe with the collagen that I am allergic to, or if
you were allergic to the collagen, it probably would continue to happen.
Yeah. That's what I
right? Because you're still taking it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be in response to something. Sometimes you can be exposed on a skin level to something and your body reacts in another part of the body. Have you changed detergent or anything of that nature, or?
Mm-mm. Yeah, I think I need to start writing a diary, but yeah, I haven't changed anything. I've been eating the same. I haven't changed like any of my anything.
Is it gone now?
It's kind of fading away now, but it was super itchy earlier. It was like a big patch.
I'll have to look into that. I'll do a little research.
And then
I tell you.
Take note of like how much water you're drinking at the time too.
Yeah, I've been trying to get about 3 of my like big 25 ounces in a day. So
that should be good. But yeah, just note taking, which is hard to do. But
yeah, hard to remember.
yeah, so you kind of know if something triggers it that you've eaten, or stress level can do a lot too.
Could be that.
I've had hives just because of stress before,
Yeah.
but this has been wonderful. I just am so thankful for you. And guess what she asked me? I said, I'll pay you if you come on. And guess what I'm paying her with? 2 bottles of ProBio 5. That's what she wanted.
Listen, I got 3 people in the house on ProBio 5. I have to keep a big inventory. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
It was kind of funny because we were, you know, I follow Marla on Facebook and she follows back, and I've been just posting some stuff on just what's going on. And, you know, when you get educated on what is being put in your body, like vaccines and other things, and you learn how the body works and how your immune system reacts to different things, and you know, the curtain kind of gets pulled back on things, and you're not so quick to just let the medical community do whatever they want when they suggest. Sometimes you get called bad names. You know, I am by no means an anti-vaxxer type of individual, but I am an informed vaccinator person. So one of the issues my husband with his heart condition, a lot of times things are rushed, and he was in the Navy in the early 2000s, and he was part of the testing, I believe, for anthrax, and he developed his heart arrhythmia after being vaccinated. So we're, you know, I just like to be educated, but I'm definitely not anti. It's done a lot of good in the world, and there are a lot of diseases that are under control. But the COVID and the SARS and this MERS, the flu, are a little different, and I would prefer, like, I'm kind of a ranter about natural health. If you are healthy, if you are eating well, if you're managing your stress well, if you're practicing good hygiene habits, there's absolutely no reason why you cannot fight off a virus that comes at you. Now, you may be uncomfortable. One of my suggestions, if you do get sick, is to immediately start doing vitamin C. Before we go, here's what I would recommend you take for immune health right now. It's very important, especially if you're older. You definitely need to be on the ProBio 5, BioCleanse, Mega X, and the X Factor. Those 4. Slim also, if you so choose. But the mighty 4 are those 4 is the ones that I would recommend with Plexus. In addition, vitamin A. Your body can produce vitamin A, but if your thyroid is not functioning well, you're going to have a hard time producing enough vitamin A. So you want to take extra. Now, it is fat soluble. You don't want to take too much. So 1 a day with a meal, so it gets absorbed. But what it does, it helps reinforce that membrane around your cells. So it's harder for a virus to penetrate it. So if you're low on vitamin A, your membranes around your cells are a little thinner. It's easier for the viruses to get in. And it supports your mucous membrane. So what do you think stops viruses from getting in? Around your eyes and your nose and down your throat is the strength of your mucous membranes. So vitamin A is very good for that. So highly recommend that. And you know, eat foods that are high in vitamin A. The second thing is your vitamin D. Vitamin D is super important. That is your immune. Vitamin D is a powerhouse. Now, if you live in a very sunny climate and you can get outside all day and your skin is exposed, you should probably be getting enough vitamin D. You know, if you can spend a couple hours that day. But most of us, like I live in Wisconsin, and it was 19 degrees today and snowing yesterday, and I don't even know what the sun looks like. You know, we forget. So absolutely 5,000 to 10,000 milligrams of vitamin D, but you don't need more than that. Higher levels get stored in the body, and it gets stored in that fat. And I don't want to say it's very hard to get toxic levels of vitamin D, but you really don't need to do excess on that. So the new treatment that they have, this virus, this is how, if you want, I can take 3 minutes to explain what this virus attacks and why we're getting these weird lung. If you guys want to know, I can explain it pretty easily. So the COVID virus attacks hemoglobin. Inside your hemoglobin, you've got 4 hemi is the protective outer cell around your iron ion. So you've got hemoglobin, you got heme, and then you've got your iron ion. Now, iron ion without a protective membrane or to travel in a cell is toxic, and you will get an immune response from it. So what this virus is doing, it's attacking the hemoglobin and having that iron ion release. Now we need iron ion. Iron ion in the lungs helps carry oxygen in the hemoglobin to our vital organs, okay? So people with this COVID that are serious and complain about the breathing, it's not necessarily because their lungs are shutting down, it's because they're getting an immune response where you've got the iron ions and they're toxic, so your immune system goes into overdrive to attack them. So you get what you can call a cytokine storm, which is an overactive immune system. So, but in the meantime, your body is starving of air. So it's kind of like high altitude pulmonary edema, which you find when you go to high altitudes. It's very similar to that. So what that hydroxychloroquine and the azithromycin do is it slows down, it allows, and they do it with zinc also, it allows the zinc to get into the cell and to slow down the virus replication, right? So it allows the body's own immune system to kind of handle the virus. It slows down that suffocation, and it helps the body to get rid of those toxic iron ions. So that slows that down. So the other 2 things I would highly recommend, especially if you're in the older age group, is zinc for sure. But zinc needs an isotope to get into a cell. The hydrochloroquine does that, but you can't get it because it's a prescription, okay? You could get it from your doctor if you're starting to feel sick and he's thinking that you may have it, you might get a prescription for that. But there's a supplement called quercetin, Quercitin. It is found in berries, it's found in cruciferous vegetables, but you can also get it as a supplement, and that acts as an isotope. It's not as strong as the hydrochloroquine, but it may help get that zinc into the cells. So I recommend those 2 during a time like this. I don't think you need it in your everyday life, but you know, we're living in a weird time, and I would recommend those 2. So, yeah, so what happens, your body's immune response, and your body's not getting oxygen. So there's an enzyme in your blood marrow that says you need to produce more hemoglobin. So what you're doing is you're just producing more hemoglobin for that virus to attack. You're almost feeding it, and it overwhelms the immune system. And unfortunately, in the beginning of this virus, they thought venting is the best option, which there's no problem with the person's lungs. It's that the person can't get enough oxygen. So they're changing the treatment a little bit. And vitamin C plays a very important role because absorbic acid gets stored in the lower lining of the lungs. So that is important to help clean up that your free radical damage and things like that. That's why it's really important right now to be taking vitamin C. And you know, be careful about where you get your vitamin C. I mean, here's the other great thing about Plexus is 95% of supplements and vitamins are made in China. And you know, right now I wouldn't trust anything coming from China. So we know that Plexus has good American-made product. And so we can recommend, these are the highest quality supplements that you can recommend. So, and the vitamin C that I get, my personal brand that I buy, and I get it on Amazon for my alone and ARAY. They're pretty reasonably priced. And they're a good reputable company. They come in the capsule, like the C is in the capsule. You don't want enteric, really hard tablets for your supplements if you're taking C, because it really doesn't completely break down in the body.
Can you say the name of it again? Because when you said it, your internet kind of slowed down. So can you say?
So how about I do this? How about I have you, Ruth, send me what you order.
Yep.
And then I'll post it when I post this video.
Okay.
In our team page. Okay, guys?
There it is.
Oh, there we go. We got it.
I chatted it.
That's been you explained it so well. I don't think I'd be able to explain it again because I don't have your expertise, but
it just makes sense why this is presenting as like a high altitude sickness, you know?
Yeah.
And why venting isn't, unless you're severely critical, that's probably why there were a lot more deaths at the beginning of this in Italy and things, because venting is that's life support.
Like a blasting. Yeah. Yeah.
You do not want to go down that road if you do not have to.
Right.
But if you're presenting, you're like, can't breathe, and here's something very interesting. So this is my own personal thing, but if you're presenting with a low oxygen level, and you can do that with a little pulse ox on the edge of your finger, and your hemoglobin levels are high, you can almost guarantee that you probably are in the beginning stages of a COVID-19.
Say that again. If what?
If your oxygen levels are low, because when I was on the mountain, when I was climbing to Everest, we had these little pulse things that we put on our finger, and it could measure the amount of oxygen, you know, what your oxygen saturation level was, you know. So if that is low, but your hemoglobin, because your body thinks it needs more hemoglobin because it thinks it's oxygen starved, your hemoglobin is going to go way up. So if you've got a high hemoglobin and low oxygen, that's classic signs of what this virus is doing in your body, where you may not have the, you know, all that, but you don't need a COVID-19 test to kind of, and hydrochloroquine has relatively few side effects. In fact, pregnant people can take it. Now, chloroquine is the harsher form of hydrochloroquine. And a lot of medical doctors and people on the front lines are now starting to take that prophylactically. They're taking it as a prevention. Because if you can slow down that viral storm, that immune response you're getting from the body, and allow your body's own immune system to take care of the virus, you're not going to feel good. I had a friend of mine that had it. It took her 6 weeks. Yes, quinine, the tonic water, but it doesn't have enough of that. Way back when, the gin and tonic started way back, I forget what, was it the Spanish flu or something? The chloroquine was in tonic. They would mix the chloroquine, I think is what it was, with gin to make it more palatable. And that's how the gin and tonic came about. But as the years have gone by, the amount of that in the tonic is very minor. It's not very high. But some people, you know, I believe in the power of the mind if they believe it helps. Malaria. That was malaria. Yes, Meg. Malaria. I was trying to think of what thing it was. But it's hydrochloroquine is, and you don't need a lot. Like I was listening to a lecture by a doctor to other medical doctors on what he recommended was the doses for everything. And it's like 400 milligrams of that hydrochloroquine the first day. And then the second week, you do the same. And hydrochloroquine has a 40-day half-life. So it stores in your lung tissue, in your liver, in your spleen, and in your kidney. There you go. Meg's been on it. It's great for RA and for lupus.
Lupus, I heard, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great drug, and it's got that 40-day half-life, so you don't, you know, it stays in the body. It's like the army's on guard, so you don't need to take a lot of it every day.
Someone's asking,
which I learned something new.
No trouble getting it? I don't know. I don't think so.
I'm looking at what she said. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. That solar ray on Amazon, you can order it now and get it. Is that what you mean? Oh no, you're talking about hydrochloroquine.
We're talking about hydrochloroquine. Yeah.
That's you have to have a prescription for, she said, right?
Yep.
Well, that's good, Meg. You know, I think sometimes the media blows some things out of proportion also. Here's one thing that you have to remember. Hydrochloroquine is about 60 cents a pill. It's very inexpensive. It's generic. It's not, there's no pharmaceutical company that has a market on that particular product. There's another drug called something Renvenosphere or something, I can't remember, but anyways, it's patented by a Chinese company, and it's supposed to help with this virus. Kind of fishy if you ask me, but it's $100 a pill. It's very expensive, you know. Venting somebody, I mean, the government rewards you for, people get a lot of money for different avenues. I'm not a conspiracy person here, but it's just, you know, hydrochloroquine has, anecdotally, there's a researcher overseas who had a study. Now it's not a double-blind placebo, but he had 1,041 patients. And I believe that over 1,000, and they were all treated with the hydrochloroquine, zinc, azithromycin, and all but 43 have recovered and never got seriously ill. And of those 43, I believe all of them were quite elderly and in a more advanced stage of the COVID-19. But out of those, I think 40 recovered and 3 passed. So
Pretty good.
So they're having a lot of really good success with it, which is good to hear. So we don't have to sit and be scared to death. You know, I mean, if they can figure that out, if we can get herd immunity, you know, it would be very interesting, like all of us on the call today, to see how many of us have been exposed and if any of us have antibodies, you know, because I bet you we'd find out quite a few of us have. You know, and you know, for me, I think it would be very interesting for the medical field. I had a couple friends who work in international businesses who have been to China and work with people with China coming over here. And I had a few who were sick in December, late November, December, with fever and couldn't breathe, and they were out for like a good month. And the doctor said, you don't have influenza, you don't have the flu, we don't know what you have. But it would be interesting to go back to those people and find out if they truly were sick, because their antibodies would, you know, their antibodies would show up. So.
Meg says, I'm on QT because of autoimmune and heart issues. Plus I contracted influenza and pneumonia. Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm. Wow.
And hard to develop herd immunity while isolated. So true, Karen.
Well, you know, overseas in Denmark, you know, since children do not seem to be affected, young children don't seem to be affected, they're sending their kindergartners and preschoolers back to school. And they're starting with the younger kids to help with it. Children are great for helping with herd immunity. You know, they come home, and generally parents of young children are relatively young. They're in their 30s, late 20s, mid, you know. The mortality rate for somebody under the age of 50 is really low with this particular virus. Like I said, if you boost your immunity, but you know, I kind of ranted. I kind of had a live rant on my Facebook page today because we just found out, I live in Wisconsin, that our wonderful governor chose to leave us on lockdown, until May 26th. We have a death rate in our state of less than 200. I know people who work at the major regional hospital and they are not full. And I'm just like, they closed our state parks. We can't go hiking at our state parks. We are like number 30 something on the number of cases and the number of deaths. And I just shake my head and I'm like, you know, let us out, let us develop that. And I've got a daughter who's immunocompromised. So she will stay home, but I will be extremely careful going out. But mental health, you know how you make a sick person? You isolate them, you take them away from human contact, you isolate them in their home with their family members. You're allowed to go to the grocery store, you drink, you have disrupted sleep habits, you're not eating as healthy as you could. I mean, I eat really healthy, my weight is staying the same, but I've eaten a lot of crap, just. I'm going to have a nice little detox that you guys, a little detox, not this week, next week, I'll invite you all to it. Y'all can do 5 days of fun with me. It's awesome. You're going to feel like $1 million. You're going to lose 4 to 8 pounds. It's the best thing ever. But, okay, so you've got all these people, they haven't been outside that much. And now you're going to send them out to be around one another. Their immune systems are not that beefed up, They've been living in fear. Their stress levels are like this.
And everyone's eating sugar. They're inside just making all the awful, terrible foods for their.
I know. It's a recipe for disaster. People like to be, but on the other hand, we have the earth has hit this major pause button. And I think a lot of us can take this time. We're all in it together, which is somewhat comforting, but at the same time, we've done 4 weeks and now we have 5 more weeks in front of us. Even New York, the end date is May 15th.
So I'm surprised Wisconsin went that long.
Well, we have a wonderful governor who's good friends with the Michigan governor, who's good friends with the Illinois governor, who's good friends with the Minnesota, and they all probably went out to have lunch and said, how long can we keep our people in their homes?
I'm
just kidding.
Governor banned the sale of seeds, like to plant vegetables and fruits. And also what was banned, because she didn't deem it essential. Also, the things, because they had caution tape in the stores in Michigan is what I saw. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but the mosquito spray, like all of the things that you people up north really need, or in those vegetative areas, she didn't see as essential to have less people going to the stores to buy them. So,
but the alcohol is essential. The liquor store.
Yeah.
Well, here's a wacky thing that she hasn't allowed. So a lot of us who live up north have homes, cabins. Mm-hmm. She's not allowing people to travel from their home to their cabin. But if I live in Wisconsin and have a cabin in Michigan, I can go to my cabin. I could go to my cabin in Michigan, but she doesn't allow. You can't go house to house. Like, let's say my daughter lives in an apartment. I would not be allowed to go visit her. So, but the seed thing, there are ways people can grow their own food. Being outdoors and is healthy. They weren't selling American flags. You can't buy an American flag. I saw that can't buy clothes. You can't. Yeah, so I had a friend of mine who lives in Michigan, was at Walmart, and she had to pick up some underclothes for her kids, and she got up to the checkout and said, you can't buy that. You've got to be kidding me. I already touched it. Just,
This is crazy.
It really is.
Gosh, we've gone an hour and a half, ladies. I've never gotten this long. This is great. I love this discussion. If those of you that are new here that I don't recognize, would you just in the chat, say who you are and who invited you, so I kind of know, so we can touch base with you if you have any questions. But anyone else have anything else to say? Somebody? Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. So Kathy, we had 4 kids in our family. I was the first one to get chicken pox. Guess who had the slumber party in their room that night? I did. We all got chicken pox. And then 2 months later, my brother had the mumps. My mom threw us in the same room like all day and said, y'all get it at the same time.
Yep, chicken pox parties and neighborhood ones. Yeah.
No, crazy.
Kathy, 5 of us, the same. Yep. Oh, yeah, we have to be able to fight things off.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been great. I just appreciate this so much. Thank you all for being on. And anything else before we sign off?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ruth. You're a blessing. See you. Thanks, everybody.
Nice.
Bye.